It's a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to the culture right here on ZIMBABWE's television network. My name is Howard Msonza, and this is the biggest football show anywhere in the country right now, and it's on ZTN. In the studio, I'm joined by the couch squad, Momoyo and Mr. Teach. Great weekend of football this past weekend.
Fantastic weekend. Manchester United was not playing, so...
I thought you were going to talk about Manika Devils or something.
No, well, they dropped points, but yeah, it was a good weekend.
Is this why you are avoiding them?
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Yeah, what we're talking about today.
Momo is also here. You're looking good. Men in black.
Looking good every day is my hobby.
Doesn't matter what it is.
I'm dressed by 4 May.
Okay. All right. It's fine. What are we talking about today on the show? Well, we are talking football business today. And yeah, I know we always talk about football business, but we're talking about the financing of the teams. And we're going to look at the Premier Soccer League. We're going to go down to the lower divisions and even the social clubs. If we're going to, because I know Mo has got a social club. So in recent years, we have witnessed the demise of several clubs in the Premier Soccer League and the lower divisions due to the liquidity challenges. And well, for good measure, all the teams that were in the Premier League in 2010, including former champions Gunners, Monomotapa, Motor Action, have all folded, save for the traditional big three, that's Caps United, Dynamos, and the Highlanders. And the other 13 in the Premiership in 2010, including Kiglon, Highway, Shooting Stars, Lenthens, Eastern Lions, Douglas Warriors, just to name a few, have gone by the wind. So what is the problem really? What's happening in Zimbabwe football? Well, some of the teams are owned by corporates, some are owned by individuals, and most of the teams that are owned by individuals have really found the going very tough. So the question that we are asking is football in Zimbabwe a loss-making venture? You can come through on our social, whether you're on Facebook, on YouTube, where we're streaming right now. Give us your comments so that we talk about this issue. Is it a football, is it a loss-making venture? So we know for one reason or the other, if you go probably to the Spanish La Liga, if you go to the English Premier League, they talk about the GDP of the country and some of the, in fact, right now, there's an issue going on in the English Premier League where Chelsea, there's a lot of interest in Chelsea because it's one of their biggest exports. When you look out there, and they are trying to make sure that it gets into the right hands after Abramovich, something happened. Yeah, let's just leave it there. So yeah, they are looking at that. So are we as a country going to get to that stage where football contributes to the economy of the country? In fact, this is where we want to go. So hence this topic, you know, is football a loss-making venture? So before we get into that, let's look at what happened during this past weekend. But remember, the topic that we are talking about today is football, a loss-making venture. And this past weekend, we had 9 rounds of matches in the Kasolaga Premier Soccer League. And yeah, we witnessed some big games. I went to Zhishavani. There was a game at Mandava. And Tekshua Chiragwi becoming the first coaching Ngezi Platinum Stars to win a league match at Mandava Stadium. I think for somebody who is on a caretaker's basis and you conjure up such a result, I think it's really because they won by a goal to nil.
Yeah, I think it's definitely boosted his chances of securing the job on a more permanent basis. Although maybe when you look at the way in which he achieved that result, it wasn't the prettiest. It was more of a smash and grab. But I guess when you're away from home, it's the points that matter. And Tekshua Chiragwi making sure that Ngezi Platinum Stars get the 3 points against their bitter rivals, FC Platinum.
Just looking at the results from this past weekend, Chicken in 2-1 winners over Black Rhinos, Yada, and a goalless draw with Malaya City, and Dynamos getting their 3rd win on the trot. Caps in a 1-0 draw with Highlands. We'll talk about this match in detail. This was really some top stuff that we witnessed. Tenax going down to Herentos by 2-0. Malaya Chiefs going down at home again. You know, after going down to Dynamos last weekend, they were beaten by Harare City by 2-1. Kremlin Bullets getting a very good draw against Manica Diamonds, then Triangle, the biggest winners of the weekend, 4-1 victors over Wawa. But we're going to come now to the Dynamos victory. This was their third win on the trot, and they consolidated their position on the log standings. They are third right now out of the 18-team log standings, and they've got 16 points. But the game of the week pitted Highlanders and Caps United at the National Sports Stadium. It was live right here on ZIMBABWE Television Network as well. That match ending in a 1-0 draw. The Green Machine opening the scoring through Clive Augusto in the first half. Then Ngobizile Masuku early in the second half with a sublime free kick, beating Caps United goalkeeper all systems out. And yeah, this was probably, for me, that was the game of the weekend.
Yeah, definitely an exciting game. Obviously, two traditional giants. Some people call them the battle of the cities. But looking at it, I felt like it was a game of two halves. Cape United, I think, came out of the blocks way faster than Highlanders did. But in the second half, Highlanders showing that they can play a good possession game. And Ngobizile Masuku, I think, for his fourth goal of the season, fourth goal from a set piece, showing that, you know, he can be quite the set piece master. So, yeah, it was an entertaining game. Although I felt like, you know, if Highlanders had started the game a bit quicker, you know, they could have made it a better contest. Probably could have gotten a crucial win, but at the end of the day, I think a 1-1 draw was a fair result based on the 90 minutes.
Do you agree?
Definitely not. I don't agree with that.
I could see the blackness from your black
this has
outfit.
got nothing to do with Boso, but I have to say, Howard, the only difference in the first half between Highlanders and Caps was the Caps goal. In terms of play, they cancelled each other out. It was a fair half. The second half, it was all Boso. So there is no two halves there. Caps never dominated any time.
But there were times where we saw Bamusi and Nyoni
no.
making runs down the wing.
I also watched the game.
There were many crosses from Caps. There were many attempts from Boso. The first half, they cancelled each other out. The second half, for you guys to say that that game was first half and second half, Caps and then Boso. No. And, okay, for you, okay. And then if you look at the result, 1-1, I thought Boso deserved more. They had two penalty shouts. That if we had VAR, they would have been given two penalties. So the referee was out of sorts, and you can shake your head all you want, Howard. I'm just stating facts as they are.
What are facts? Something irrefutable. This is your opinion.
It's not my opinion.
It's your opinion.
Guys,
he gave me a different opinion. These are not facts.
If it's a fact, if we had VAR.
We don't have VAR.
But VAR can still decide otherwise. How many times have you watched a video assistant referee?
You have been complaining about VAR, and yet you want to talk about VAR right now.
Anyway, as far as I'm concerned,
you are concerned.
Boso should have won that match. They played better. They were the better team on the day.
Anyway, it finished
first and second half
in a 1-0 draw. And at the end of the game, well, like we always do, we spoke to the coaches, and Lloyd Chitembwe talked to us about the performance of his players.
Yeah, I don't think it's correct to say confidence. It had nothing to do with confidence. I thought Highlanders had the momentum. They'd taken the initiative to want to come at us, but unfortunately we kept on dropping deeper and deeper and deeper, and by so doing, we're inviting them in our own penalty box, and you cannot survive for too long when you do that. So, yeah, I thought the free kick was also a very well taken free kick. So, yeah, but from the result point of view, a little bit disappointed. I thought we had done enough to win it in terms of obviously having to manage the first half and also having to manage half of the second half. But such is life in football, but we'll take a point.
For May, transform. transforming men into gentlemen.
So we were hearing from Lloyd Chitembwe, and he concurs with you. He says it was a game of 2 hours. We dominated. He said we dominated in the first half.
But we've got that clip. Why is he not talking the truth? We've got that clip.
I'm talking to Mr. Tish.
Okay, go ahead.
So he says we dominated in the first half, then they were very strong in the second half. Tell you what, I also thought Caps, had better chances.
In the first half.
Had better chances in the first half, and they could have, although Highlanders were very strong in the second half, they could have easily beaten Caps. Anyway, in the other game, Dynamos on Saturday, there were 2-0 victors over ZPC Kariba, and that game, their third win on the trot, and Tondarai Ndera believes now the team is starting to shape up the way he wants.
Well, it's a great feeling. Great feeling. I think that's what we wanted to achieve. It's quite difficult in this league, like I've said before, to really notch 3 wins in succession. We have done that today. Now our next target is 4. But apart from the win, well, today it was a little bit difficult for us. I thought we started quite well. But after the penalty, I thought we went down. And then the better part of the first half, we were not really ourselves. We were not fluent. We were slow to everything. But of course, we continued. We came back. The second half, I thought, quite honestly, that ZPC Kariba were probing. They were the better team, the better part of the game. But I think what is important at the end of the day is the result, and the result is what we got today. In the end, we were towards the end of the match. We were defending deep. We had seen that we were not really so fluent today. So the only plan was to sit back and defend. And fortunately, we then got that counter-attack, which gave us the second goal. Happy for Bio Antonio. He assisted and scored today. The young man is growing. Hope he can really keep his head cool. He's got a very bright future ahead of him. Happy for Sylvester Apia. He came in today, his first start for this year, and he did very well. So defensively, I was very, very happy. But of course, offensively, we were not ourselves. We didn't do as much as we really wanted to do.
So that's Dynamos coach Tondarai Ndera speaking after that 2-0 win over ZPC Kariba. So what does this all mean after the results of match day 8? Chicken Inn have now taken over on top. Remember, Manica Diamonds were on top, but because of the 1-0 draw they got this past weekend with Cranbourne Bullets, they were dislodged from the top. So Chicken Inn on top, followed by Manica Diamonds. Then you've got Dynamos, and fourth is Triangle. Is this log now starting to take shape? Yeah. Are we seeing now the difference between who's good and who's probably not really good?
Yeah, I'm sorry about what I'm about to say because Mr. Teach is going to... I apologize in advance. But I thought Manica Diamonds really started very well, and their biggest challenge is they can't play well outside of their stadium. Outside of Sakuva, they are losing points. Every time they go away, they lose points. And they're losing points to those very small teams. Just the week before they played Yada, they drew 1-1. And this last week, they drew again 1-1. They're actually coming from behind as well. So it's now getting organized at the top. The big teams are winning, and the small teams are losing. It's sorting itself out.
Getting organized at the top. Let's talk about the bottom, because you look at the stragglers. You've got your Cranbourne Bullets, your Wawa, Bulawayo, City Yada, right there at the bottom. Is it also taking shape at the bottom?
I think it's definitely taking shape at the bottom. I think your Yada, Tenex, Wawa, Cranbourne are probably the 4 teams that are going to get relegated. I know it's early doors, but you look at their defensive records, the number of goals they've been conceding, the kind of football they've been playing, it's not looking good. I think it will take an epic comeback for any of those teams. I think Yada as well might be dragged down into that dogfight. So the 4 teams that are going to be relegated are coming from Yada, Cranbourne, Tenex, Wawa.
I thought you were going to say Tenax Yangwi. Tenax Yangwi.
No,
because you're very strong, with teams from Manika.
I'm very passionate about them, but I think they might be a bit out of their depth in terms of the quality that they have.
And Manika, are the wheels coming off?
No, the wheels are not coming off because he's saying the big things are coming to the party. We played 2 away games. We did quite well to get a point on the road.
I like it. We played.
Yes, I will wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm not even embarrassed.
No, it's all right.
Objectivity goes out the window. It's fine.
It's all right. So is it a matter of this week when Manika played well? We played well. You look at Tenax, it wasn't so good. You're watching The Couch right here on ZIMBABWE Television Network. Well, a show brought to you by ZTN in partnership with Africa Bet. So, yeah, let's now go on to what we're talking about on The Couch today. Is football a loss-making venture in Zimbabwe? And tell you what, we've got an expert here that we dragged, I don't know, from some construction site where he was, and we said, no, come here. Let's talk about this. So we're joined by Russell Miribidi from the Sports Leaders Institute of Zimbabwe. He's the president there. What do you do?
We do.
At SLEAS?
At SLEAS, we deal with leadership development programs, capacity building of sports leaders, and we try and make sports leaders realize that sport is big business.
So in a nutshell, just in a nutshell, because I like that part where you say sports is big business.
Yes.
Football in Zimbabwe, is it big business?
It's supposed to be big business, but
it's not.
It's not, like right now. That's the truth. The most unfortunate thing is we have our football clubs, our administrators wanting to do well in football, but they don't want to do football well. So for as long as
it's all right for now. So we're going to break it down here and see where the problem is really, because Russell is here, Mo is here, and Mr. Teach as well, right here on The Couch, brought to you by ZTN in partnership with Africa Bet. So earlier we said that the state of affairs financially in our own game is a sorry state. So how do we address this? In fact, what is causing these problems? We have witnessed clubs like Ghana's falling by the wayside. What is the root cause? What needs to be done? I think what I like about this topic, because I started with Ghana's, because you played for Ghana's. And at the height, 2009 Premier League champions went into the Champions League. I think with a bit of luck, Ghana's could have even gone further, but the draw was not really kind on you guys, because there was Al Ahly, the Giants of Egypt, they were there, and yeah, I know you were going to cry foul with what happened, the 2 penalties in Egypt and all that. But I think what's key, Ghana's beat Al Ahly at Rufaro Stadium by 1-0. And when you went to Al Ahly, things happened there. But that was a great project. What happened in your own view?
Yeah, what happened is what is still happening today. Individually owned clubs, in the long run, they cannot sustain the expenses that come with running a club. Imagine you register 30 players. You've got a technical team of about 5, 6, 7, depending with your needs. You're taking care of all those people. They need the salary. They need to go for training every day of the week. You need to fulfill fixtures. You need to do camping. So for individuals, they can run, but it won't be for very long. So if you look at the trend that has been going on, all individually run teams, most of them, maybe with the exception of Dynamos, because it was owned by Marriott. But they end up just disappearing because funds are not there anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like a supermarket when you are getting into football business in Zimbabwe. The money that you pour out, it's gone. It's not coming back. And unfortunately, these individually owned clubs are small clubs. most of them.
All right, so let's look at this list here, because some of these individually owned teams or clubs that have folded were champions. 2009, we're talking about Ghana's. 2010, Motor Action. 2008, Mono Motapa. Lenthens, they were Banque BC champions in 2009. Shooting Stars, as you played for them, they were runners-up in 2009. Amazulu, champions in 2003. And you got to look at, it's a whole list, you know. Kiglon, Blue Ribbon, Douglas Warriors, Rail Stars, Juve Sundowns, Quaker Cables, Chrome Stars, Lancashire, Highway, I'll talk to you about Highway, Eastern Lions, Underhill, Hard Body, Cholocho, Dongo Somel, Kambuzuma United, Sako Simen. The list is so long, you know. But I don't know what happens, because when we are looking from the sidelines, I remember some of these teams, how they started, like your Lenthens. It started as a social team. You know, and a lot of people pulling resources together. Even Ghana's way it started, you know. And there is this mentality that I'm going to get returns. If I sell 1, 2, 3, 4 players, I'll get returns. But it doesn't translate to that at the end of the day. Where are these people getting it wrong?
I don't think it's the individuals necessarily who are getting it wrong. I think it's the footballing environment, the ecosystem that is not working. Because if you have a situation where you need to depend on either gate takings, or you need to depend on maybe the off chance that you sell one of your marquee players to a big team, I don't think that's a sustainable business model. You look at the current games right now, when you watch the Premier Soccer League, you hardly see any billboards besides that of the main sponsor. Like the teams themselves, they're not being able to build marketing relationships on themselves with different corporates. And when corporates come in, it's either as a community social responsibility. There's no sustainable business model that's created. We've seen the cases of Highway, Eastern Lions, all these teams, Ghana's Shooting Stars, where the owners, they come in with a passion, but there is no sustainable model to say, all right, we've invested X amount of dollars into this club. What are we expecting to return, and how are we hoping to achieve that? Usually it's someone maybe doing an Abramovich, you know, coming in and saying, you know what, I love football, I love Mutari like myself, I just don't have the money. And then you come in and then you say, you know what, I'm going to pour in. But you don't have a plan to say, you know what, are we going to make a profit? You know, the expenses that we're incurring, can we sustain them? Usually these individual owners, they're just pouring money into football without any real plan on how they will get that money back. And we even see it with some of the corporate teams. It's just a sponsor coming in and saying, you know what, there you go. You know, this is the budget that we have for you. But without actually creating sustainable, is the football club then, was Shooting Stars a business? Was Ghana's a business? Was Highway a business? I think if you look at it, the answer to all those questions is no, and that's where we're failing.
Yeah, I'm gonna come to you. Yes. I'm gonna come to you in a second. What I want to address, because you were talking about Shooting Stars, Joe Sengeredo was the owner of that team. And you look at Joe now, things are not really, you know, working well for him, because he spent every dime that he had. Coming to a team in Mutare Highway, yes. Benali Yard, you know, he was balling around, you know, splashing money left, right, and center. And I hear, you know, things are not well with Benali. And he can't buy.
He's fallen on hard times. And if you remember at the peak of Highway, you know, when teams would come in, there would be a motorcade starting from the top of Christmas Pass. People would be going in. Money was being thrown around. You know, people were being paid to go and watch games. You know, it was ridiculous. It was unsustainable. It was, you know, but then it was a guy who was just crazy and passionate, and they loved their team, they loved their city. They poured all their money, but they did not have a plan. There was no business plan for Highway, except there was money. Because if you think about, if that money that was invested, because I'm sure he poured thousands and thousands of dollars, if it had been managed right, if it had poured, I mean, why was he throwing money to fans? Why was he paying fans to come and watch the game? If he had maybe tried to create maybe like a side project to say, you know what, as Highway, we're giving you this capital. You can invest in a project that is not football related, but that can generate income so that it can become self-sustainable. We haven't had situations where these owners have a desire for the club to be self-sustainable. It's more about ego. To say, as Mr. Titch, you know, I am Dinemari Drimbinga. You know,
I still remember when we were still at Shooting Stars, when we would want to play Dynamos, we would stay at Crystal Lodge for the whole week. Like from the Sunday match, you wouldn't go home. You check into Crystal Lodge for the whole week. So for me, I was a working man. I was actually going from the hotel to work and going back to the hotel. That's how that
doesn't do that.
And Chumayeli Moyo used to go to Blueo after every game. You would fly to Blueo. He was also permanently staying in the hotel.
Or let's hear from the expert now, because what I'm hearing, because he experienced it, because he played football, and Mr. T is coming here and say, these people have got no plan.
True. True. This is why as an institute you advocate for a lot of knowledge, because everything has become so scientific, and that approach gives you proper business insights for decision-making purposes. Because you will find out that, again, like I'd already said, they want to do well in sport at the expense of all the other basic tenets of running a business. It's all about applying the right basic fundamentals. They wanted to do so well that they bought championships, which is very unfortunate at the expense of the longevity of the projects that they were working on, the football, the shooting stars of the world, the Kiglons, the Lengthens of the world. So one of the basic tenets the world over right now that you need to do as a club is to try and increase your value proposition for your brand. And the first thing that you should do is, sponsors come in for the funds because they want mileage. If you don't have funds, then you're not going to create mileage. This is why it's not a coincidence that Dynamos and Islanders have just gotten some big, huge sponsorship deals just right now, even though they are not yet pulling those crowds. But soon, with the results that they are putting up and the brand of football that they're playing, they're going to start pulling crowds. But again, it's all about the right business model, fan engagement, increasing user experience for the fans at the venues. If you go to stadiums right now with your family, you are very lucky to come out unembarrassed, because the language that's used there, even in the VIP sections, I've actually tended to tell my wife not to worry when I go with it, that this is not a VIP. It's not for the very important people, it's for the very ignorant people, because there are people that don't pay anything, but they come and watch football. In fact, the free attendance of those many guests in VIP at the expense of the other beds that are so empty is one of the biggest problems that we have. How can you have a very important person who contributes nothing to the development of the sport in the country?
So here you're trying to explain the VIP part.
Yes.
Who is supposed to be a VIP?
People who contribute to that, and why don't you sell tickets to VIPs? Proper VIPs will buy their way in, because all you want in the VIP section is comfort. But you also want to contribute to the development of the game, so you need to put up something. And the fact that we do not have season tickets as a country right now is one of the reasons why clubs folded even during the COVID pandemic, because once you pay for something, and if you're a proper VIP, you are going to donate it to the organization if at times come, like COVID in 2 years, like the 2 years that were inactive. Then we have an issue where we are playing social football as a country, because we don't have TV, thanks to ZTN, because now you're broadcasting live matches. But again, with your broadcast, the Premier Soccer League cannot even do any video assistant refereeing. So that's not, when it comes to football, fair play. The game that we play here must be the same game that's played in South Africa or in Zambia or in what countries are North Africa. But we are not having that. So one of the things that you need to bring on board is TV and TV rights for us to be able to sustain our games. Otherwise, teams are going to get extinct, including those so-called big teams that have...
But one question though, Russell.
Yes.
According to you, why are people coming into football, especially the individuals?
Individuals?
Yes. Why are these people coming in? Is it a matter of, I've got a lot of money now and I don't know what to do with the money? Why are they coming into football?
With all due respect, I think the biggest thing that these guys have is a lot of passion for football. That's one thing that we cannot take away from them. But at the same time, it's also uninformed passion, because when they come in for their egos, and it's like it's already been said by Teach and more. And their egos then far outweigh the basic principles of running businesses. Because you'll find that they'll be making players stay in hotels and players living lifestyles, jetting off from Harare to Laos and back. But you still find that the same individual owners are not paying their workers at the source businesses that they have that are funding the businesses, the football business. So football becomes a passion. And when you deal with passionate issues, matters of the heart, you tend to make the wrong decisions. And the only way that you can make the right decisions is if you go to school, and you'll find that knowledge is far cheaper than ignorance.
Wow. I'm not so sure. Should we take all the football administrators back to school? I'm sure there are a couple of courses that are run. I'm not saying the administrators don't know what they're doing, but I'm just taking off from what Russell has just said. Now, I think this brings into the fore the issue of club licensing.
Yes.
That has been introduced by FIFA together with the Confederation of African Football.
Yes.
And it talks about different tenets. There's the infrastructure,
yes.
There's the communications aspect,
yes.
then there's the financial aspect as well.
Yes.
Because there are issues like to do with stadia, the communications part. Every team is supposed to have a communications person, the medical, and all that. And, you know, how far have we gone, Mr. Tish? When you look at that,
no, before Mr. Tish comes in, you're talking about club licensing. How many clubs in this country meet that criteria?
Yeah, this was supposed to be your question.
So at the end of the day, we are running. We're trying to run a business with clubs that do not even meet the minimum, the basic minimums. So what do you expect? Failure. It's written there, planning to fail. Why do we always give people? It's been 3-4 years right now, and we've been wavering those conditions set out by CAF and FIFA.
Is there a team that's compliant?
I think the closest teams that are compliant are Ngezi and maybe FC Platinum, but then they're also lagging on the women's football part, because I think FC Platinum, it's only this year that they started trying to get a proper football team set up. But I think what we need is a cultural reset in terms of how we approach our football. Because I think you know, we don't, when we think of sport in Zimbabwe, we don't take it as a business. We take it as a pastime. Like Russell said, you know, it's social soccer. Basically, that's just maybe organized and we have a league. But when it comes to our club licensing system, you know, we only hear about it when we're talking about, people just focus on the issue of stadia. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're talking about what Mr. Gwesela from Ziva homologation. That's what people tend to focus on. But even before we get to the stadia, in terms of how our clubs, you mentioned a key component, communication. You know, I think communication right now, you see the information that comes out in terms of pre-match conferences, post-match conferences, the way the clubs market themselves using their own platforms, whether it's social media, whether it's through their media presence, that even that aspect of itself, clubs, yes, we can blame the PSO, we can blame club licensing, we can blame FIFA, we can blame CAF, but how much are clubs as individuals doing to make sure that they push their own brand, that they make that brand attractive? I don't think we're doing enough in that respect. Yes, we can cry and say, oh no, the economy, we can say all these different things. But in terms of, we go back to the individual owners, they want to be like, oh, yes, I'm Mr. Tish, I'm Howard, I'm Mo, I'm Russell, I've got a club. And what they want is for people to know that Howard has got a club, whether that club is functioning well. And the best way for people to know is for that club to do everything, maybe in a year or two, to try and get the championship, and then forever. Now, right now, we might criticize the owners of Shooting Stars, we're going to criticize the owners of Gunners, but he'll always say, I've got a championship. Yeah. There have been teams that have been in existence since time immemorial that have never come close to winning a championship. He said, I came, I saw, I conquered, I went broke.
Is this the mentality that people who are sponsoring football are coming with? Are they just looking probably at the prestige of being, you know, spoken about as somebody who won the championship?
I think it's a hobby, actually. It's more of a hobby. Because I have the money, I can just start a club, get into the Premiership, play as much as I can, and then leave it. If I win the championship, so be it. It's a plus. But it's a hobby. Because I love soccer, I've got the passion for soccer, and I've got the money. Once the money dries out, then so what? I can still go and watch the Dynamos play.
All right,
it's not about business.
Let's hear from other gurus also in football and hear their views here. Let's start with Finus Madumbu. He's the secretary for Rentals Football Club.
Sports is not giving retains to corporates, even if it's individuals who are trying to also run the soccer teams. It's not. So what then it tells is that those who are into sponsoring sporting activities, those that are running football teams, they are rather running a loss, if I can say. But why would they then continue on running those football clubs when they are running a loss? It will be more to do with social corporate responsibilities as an institution, as a Renders group of schools and colleges. Like for instance, we have a team in the Premier Soccer League, the senior male team. We also have a team in the Northern Region Soccer League, and we also have a Division 2 team in the Harare province. We also have a women soccer team in the Zimbabwe Premier Women Soccer Team. So, league, sorry. So what it tells is that as an institution, despite the difficulties and the challenges, we are still determined to see to it that these young girls and boys, they are still being given the platform to showcase their talents. So yes, we have those challenges, but we are still determined to proceed with assisting or giving the platform.
Herento's Secretary General Finance Madumbu. So Alois Masepe is the chairman of Harare City, also went further and just buttressed what Finance was talking about.
Football in this country is not being run as a business venture. It's a major failing. We need a policy at national level that recognizes that sport is a young industry. A young industry where the government, national authorities must invest in. We need investment in terms of growing sport as an industry. We are not doing that. It has not grown to the extent where it can be a business. We are still at recreational stage. The economic meltdown that is facing our country is also a big contributor. At the moment, the only company that is standing up with us is Delta. But some years ago, not a long time ago, we had a number. We were spoiled for choice. But it's no longer the case now. This is talking to the economic meltdown, right? And those individuals who have come in to try to make money out of soccer have failed because it is not yet an industry. It is regarded as recreational. What we need to do is, at the very top level, the national level, is to recognize the fact that sport can be an employer, can generate wealth. And once we accept that, it means that we need to invest, to budget for the development of sport in this country.
So that's the chairman of Harare City Football Club, Alois Masepe, also weighing in on the issue we were talking about. So Russell, at first I saw you shaking your head, then I saw you agreeing with what Alois was talking about. I think the big takeaway for us, he says we are not yet at that level. It's purely recreational when we look at football in Zimbabwe.
Social issues are always recreational, so that's what we are doing. And unfortunately, we have to choose our national teams from those leagues. And yes, I was agreeing with Mr. Masepe because, you see, government must set out policies that make the environment, the ecosystem, like teacher was saying, conducive for sponsors to come on board, like tax rebates and stuff like that. because there is no tax rebates that are emanating from any sponsorship of any sport. So from a business perspective, why then should sponsors come in? People come in with the view, people always talk about community social responsibilities. Yes, maybe, but I would look at it as some form of ambush marketing by those corporates that are claiming to be doing community social responsibility, because why they then give to football. Look, I'm not going to call names, but I look at it from a purely scientific, use data to come up with decision-making processes. How much does the league sponsor give to the 20 teams that are in the Premier Soccer League? And how much does each club spend per season to go through that league? Maybe Teach and Mo can help on that. If I look at that, roughly when I was working, I was once part of the Chapungo executive some years back, and I'll tell you that would use maybe between 700 to $1 million US per year to run a football club.
Why were you in football?
To gain, I'm a career sports administrator.
No, as Chapungo, because you were part of Chapungo.
Why was I in football?
Yes, because you would sit as an executive and talk about, why were you in football?
I was in football to add value to football. And one of the things I also wanted to also learn and also understand how the Premiership was running, so that how football was run in the country, so I could comment on it exhaustively. So that's why I was there. And what I saw there was that you'd spend so much money, but the flagship sponsor would not give you a tenth of what all the clubs would be putting into the league, but we still use that name that this guy is a sponsor. It would never happen in any developed economy, in any developed league.
But don't you think maybe it's because, like what Alois was saying, you know, the environment is not really conducive at the moment, because when you're supposed to be getting maybe 10 people coming in to support, there's only one.
You know what? The environment will never be conducive. You must make it happen. You know, Michael Jordan always, he coined this. He said, some people wish it would happen. Some people want it to happen. Some people make it happen. Money will never be enough. And for as long as we don't have a value proposition that satisfies the needs of the so-called sponsors. Right now, there are people that are making huge amounts of money in this country, but they just need to understand what that sport is and where the value proposition is. The fact that there's so much squabbling in our sport, right from top to bottom, means that people are going to run away because they do not want to be involved with fighting over something that they've been perennially told that this is a hard-hit area. If you go there at your own risk. So it calls upon everyone in the sporting family, right from the minister, right down to the clubs, to the ancillary sport industries like the media and everyone else. We need to pull our heads together, because where there's harmony, people will come and want to be involved.
All right, let me bring in Mo and Mr. Teach, because you brought in an interesting aspect here about the league sponsors. But I look at probably the EPL, because they are sponsored by a bank. Yes. But when you look at the amount of money the bank is putting, doesn't really cover the costs. But now what clubs are doing, individual clubs have got their own sponsors. There's also the aspect of TV rights and all that. Why is it that our clubs are struggling to get their own sponsorship outside of the sponsor of the league?
I think I just want to buttress something that was said. You know, they talked about corporate social responsibility being one of the key components that's bringing in finances to our football. And I think it can be a blessing, but I think it's probably the biggest curse for our football, because we will now have this donation mentality where we're just expecting to receive money without actually generating any income. And it comes back to the clubs now. The clubs, they want, you know, you talk about the Champions League. I think the prize money for the team that wins it is about 25 million. You can't buy an average player in Europe with 25 million. So that just goes to tell you that our clubs need to, before they start crying, they need, before government, yes, tax rebates are all good, but before government or even sponsors take sport seriously as a business, clubs need to treat themselves as a business. They need to apportion value to themselves. They need to be able to say, you know what, if you want to come in, and Russell talked about ambush marketing, you know what value are we getting? You know, because yes, you want us to wear your T-shirts that say X brand, but what are we getting the value? You hear about paint sponsors in Europe. You hear about technical sponsor for their IT gadgets. You hear about transportation sponsors. There's so many ways that can. Here you hear about a bus company donating their bus for usage. and they get
Yeah, but-
mileage. When we're on ZTN covers,
but the
when
chief
ZTN
is
no, on ZTN.
one thing that I always find disturbing is teams coming in and they give you T-shirts with
the X brand
and they say we've given sponsorship to a team.
You look at right now. Let me give you an example of Manchester United, for example. Team Viewer obviously might pay for the sponsorship, right? But they're paying money so that they can have Team Viewer. They're not donating the Manchester United jerseys to the players. They are paying for the right to be on there, so that whether I'm working in Mbare, whether you're in Malaysia,
the sponsor is getting value.
The sponsor is getting value in Sakuva. Yes, the sponsor is getting value. But right now, our clubs are not placing value on themselves. So when somebody comes and says, we're giving you a bus for transport, and they know they're doing it because on ZTN on Saturday, we're going to do a build-up and the bus is going to be shown, and they're getting value
out of that.
ambush marketing. But what is the team getting?
Let's bring in more, because why more? You played for a number of teams. Baimo, Caps FC, Shooting Stars, then Gunners. When you look at all the teams that you played for, did those have individual sponsors, or did they have their own sponsorship as a team? X brand has come in to do this for the team. X brand is doing this for the team. Or it was the sole responsibility of whoever was owning the team?
Sometimes we would have a sponsor, maybe for the year. We would maybe take care of our traveling or camping.
A sponsor or a donation? Like
No.
They paying?
No, I said a sponsor. A sponsor for the whole year to say, I'm going to take care of all accommodation for the whole year. All the matches that you're going to play away, like for example, this time, 18 matches away, we are going to sponsor you for the whole year. The sponsorship can only continue if we see...
Which team was that?
When we were still at Baimo.
What mileage did you give the sponsor? What did you give him? How much was there a proper value proposition, or it was also passionate?
From an administrative point of view, I wouldn't be able to respond. But I would say from a player's perspective, we really played very well. We ended up at number 5 on the log for a small club that was quite huge. But I want to...
Sorry, just for his research and maybe for Mr. Teach admin, which sponsor was that?
I don't want to get into that details.
Because you know why I'm asking this? Because I'm struggling, to separate the owner of the team, because the owner of the team might have businesses, and because it's his thing.
Maybe it was one of the small business units that
was coming in.
Whatever it was.
Like what he was saying, you're taking from X to support Z.
Let's look at our football holistically. We do not have an option in who is sponsoring us. The person who comes and says, we are taking because there is no alternative. If I come and say I've got $50 and you have got $0, you can't refuse my $50.
But my point...
So there is no one else out there who wants to come with 20 or 100 or 1,000 that you want. So if I come with my $50, please respect my $50.
But
because you don't have anything.
No, Mr. Mo,
but that's a very bad mentality.
My
it's
point
not a bad
now
mentality.
is,
it's
are we
reality,
saying...
Howard. It's
but are we saying our game is worth $0?
No.
Because you're coming in with your 50.
What is you're
saying take it. Because there's
what value are we putting?
This is what I can give you. Yes. Look for whoever can give you more. If you've got an option, go there.
Okay, it's okay. Howard, I'll go back to Europe. Our biggest problem is when people come in, they expect to make their pay days when they play Dynamos or Highlanders, or maybe when they play Cape United. The gate takings. If you look at the global world right now, I've just been through a program that I was studying with the European Sports Business School. You will find that 25% of revenue for most clubs in Europe, it comes from gate takings. 75-80% comes from commercial contracts, commercial deals. Like say, fly Emirates, visit Rwanda on my favorite as now.
Do we have
30 million to do that?
Do we have the businesses in this country to support that ecosystem that we are talking about? Guys, Europe, wait. Let's not compare our football to European football.
No.
This is Zimbabwe. Let's look at it as Zimbabwe. We are completely different from even South Africa. We are completely different.
Okay. No,
we do not have an economy that is running, that is so proper, that is we do not have that. We do not even have the numbers.
All right, Mo. We hear you. We hear you,
Can I
and we
finish?
will address this.
Can I
Russell?
finish?
Yes.
As long as we don't compare ourselves with the best,
There's
we are
nothing
going
we're
to
doing.
be mediocre.
Yes.
At the end of the day, they went through what we are supposed to be going through. And we can never claim to be in our formative stages 41 years into independence. I think that's a big lie. And so at the end of and as an institute, we are so worried by people that accept mediocrity and accept the status quo. We want people that are going to be game changers. What are we doing? What does it take for a club to own its own facilities and then use it, whether it's in Europe or in Africa? Then they use that for hospitality purposes. People go there. Imagine if Dynamo's had its own facility. People will go there and have lunch. People will have their Dynamo's museum there. We don't even know much about what's there to not to copy from Europe. We don't know much about George Shire. Our kids don't know anything about George Shire. I saw the list of the founders of Dynamos. No one knows about them. But if we had our own facilities, then we could add a lot more value to that facility and bring more revenue to the club other than getting a small business unit of a club owner sponsoring transport and accommodation.
All right,
we have to be pragmatic.
So now we want to hear from Namo Tutisani, who is the vice president at Caps United. But before that, I just wanted to say this out. Because yes, we are talking about the tough conditions and all that. And Mr. Tish, I always had this example. Anzi cherum klasi name geni madofu panti munantotachi anta number 1. What am I saying here? Yes, things might be difficult, but if we do our things right, things.
Class madofu ukaita number 1 iwewe ukaenda class yevanogona unenge uri number last.
But let's do our things proper so that we don't find a scapegoat somewhere.
In this economy that's supposedly not working, we still have individuals who can come and splash money.
Exactly.
So like it just shows that if we take that individual, that money is managed better. And we need to move away from the idea of sponsorships and focus on corporate partnerships. Because that's what it is. But sponsorship is just saying, you know what, I'll take whatever you give me and I'll wear whatever you want me to
And
wear.
in the same environment. All right.
Let's give me five
no.
companies that are really doing well in Zimbabwe right now.
More.
Five.
More.
Five. I want five.
More.
On my fingers.
More.
Five.
More. I'll
give me 5.
I'll give you 10. I'll give you 10. But let's go to Namo Tutisani. I'll give you 10. Let's go to Namo Tutisani now.
If we could then rely on alliances, activities, like for instance, I'll quickly go on to performing arts. If we could combine performing arts with sport, it would probably increase or enhance the value of the entertainment that we provide to people who would want to ensure that their leisure time is well spent watching sport combined with probably performing arts. It could be Zim dancehall, it could be urban groups, just to give you an example. And there is no also harm in us trying to tally our football matches, the local league, with the popular leagues in foreign countries. It's actually brand association. That's co-production of a particular service that would probably woo customers to our football matches. So back to the environment. The environment is composed of at least 3 aspects. The general environment, where you find that there are variables that you can't control as a business person. Clubs are also affected by that. Politics of the day has an impact, positive or negative, on the well-being of running the operations of a football club. Social events, like for instance, for the past 2 years, we're struggling to provide matches due to the pandemic. COVID-19 did affect our football. Technology itself, remember our infrastructure falls under the technology subsector, so to speak. We don't have good training facilities. We don't have good playing facility. It does affect the football environment. Legislation itself, remember at the moment we are having this discussion whilst we are under suspension by FIFA. It's a legal matter that has to be sorted out. So that's a driving force that we have to take into account when we are running our football. As if that's not enough, remember football falls into the leisure and entertainment. When we say leisure, it means this is your private time. You are not engaged with your core economic activities. How do you spend that dollar to either distress or just to have fun as a family, as an individual. It's not just football that provides activity that's suitable for one to then.
Namoto Zisani, Caps United Vice President, bringing in a different view, talks about variables and all that. So Mo wanted me to give him 5 companies, and I said I'm going to give him 10. Yes, I can give him 10, but from what you were saying, I can't just give these companies value when they're not giving me value. You're watching The Couch right here on ZIMBABWE Television Network, brought to you by ZTN in partnership with Africa Bet. Stay with us. The Couch right here on ZTN in partnership with Africa Bet, bringing you the show. And what are we talking about today? We're talking about football. Is it a loss-making venture? It's interesting. We've got the Couch Squad, Momo and Mr. Teach. And also we are joined by Russell Miribidi. He's the president of the Sports Leaders Institute of Zimbabwe. So we heard from those guys, and we heard from Namoto Tisani bringing in a different view. But what I want to focus on right now, because you were talking about government and the policies that they are enacting. So I remember during the days of Andrew Langa, he's the Minister of Sport. He left. Makosini Hlongwane came in. He left. Now we've got Kirsty Coventry. And what's synonymous with all these people? They've been talking about sports policy. What's happening with the sports? Because some of these things can be addressed by the sports policy of the country. What's happening with the sports policy?
Zimbabwe is a launching country. We launch when we don't follow up. And everyone who comes in, I think the other problem is this change of ministers, where someone comes in with his or her own ideas. So our policy issues are never taken through. They don't go through their full lifespan. But going back to talking about football in clubs, I personally think the first thing that our clubs should do is try and turn their funds into clients. And how do you do that? What fund engagement are they going to do? It's one system that has been used the world over. And like Teach was saying during the break, we are fighting a lot of digital social media presence in terms of viewership. And we also must understand that we must try and get this generation Z, the young ones, those born 2020 and up 2020 up to now, they're now the 21-year-olds. We must understand how they behave. Some of them don't even want to watch the full matches, they want to watch highlights. But if you match those highlights to different sponsors who also want to just get the pop-ups, you get value coming into the sports. There's got to be some scientific study and some scientific application of issues. It's not rocket science. It's not anything that is very difficult. It has to be done stage by stage. There's got to be a start and there's got to be a benchmarking kind of system, and then we have to see where we want to end. I am telling you, we can turn around our football. All is not lost. And one of the issues that we can also do is try and keep our good players for as long as we can keep them, and that's paying them well and ensuring that they are well looked after. So
briefly, guys, we've got that committee that was set up by the SRC. Do you think whatever they're supposed to be doing will also contribute to our sustainability of the game and it being turned into a probably billion-dollar industry?
I think the focus has been on the legal issues and administration, but I think this restructuring committee needs to also address the issue of sport as a business. You know, in England, I think when clubs are being sold, they always do a fitness test to see, you know, how viable is this business that is coming in? Do they have a business model and everything like that? Here we just, like Mo says, we just accept whatever is offered. And just one final point. We're talking about...
You've got 5 seconds.
Okay, social clubs, we don't have supporters in Zimbabwe. We are fans. And I think it's just the same problem that exists in our clubs. We need those people who love soccer to be willing to pay to go to matches, to be willing to pay for replica
to get
jerseys.
a good product.
And not just say, I'm a Dynamos fan or I'm from Mutare, I love Manica Diamonds, but actually support with my disposable income.
Howard, I don't think that committee that has been put down is going to change much, even if they go through the whole process and we try to implement whatever they're going to agree on. Because it's not entirely in their hands. Why? Because if the EGM does not remove Kamambo, they still have to bring back Kamambo. Whenever we decide to do that, and Kamambo can come in and say, whatever they were talking about, we are not going to take it. So we are wasting our time.
We're back to zero.
Yeah, but I just want to hammer on the point where we are supposed to start. Yeah. We've already started, guys. We have got ZTN in partnership with PSL. TV is now going to the people, and soccer is now going to the people. So we are packaging it now in such a way that we are attracting more and more people to
say it again, we are packaging it nicely.
We are packaging it so nicely that they are getting the picture and they are coming to watch the matches. As you can see, ever since we started, the numbers are increasing at the stadiums and also on fellowship on TV. And sponsors are knocking on the doors. We have started.
I would have loved to really go on and on talking about this, but the couch done and dusted for today. Russell, thanks so much for coming through.
Thanks, it was my pleasure being here.
Yeah, I hope we're going to find time again. We hear from the producers. We can bring you in and we can continue with this. The Couch Squad, Mr. Teach and more. Thank you, guys. And the Couch is back again next Tuesday, 12 down to 1. My name is Howard Msoza. Thank you very much for watching.